As the world is still developing in the year of 2015, stereotypes and judgmental comments are still thrown towards women.
Thank you so much for to be making the video that I am watching now. I am so happy that our marriage has already been arranged. You will make a most entertaining wife. Now don't let that fool you. This is actually a video response to Steve Shives. That little opening segment was just to prove a point, or just to set up a point that I'm going to make later, I should say. And it's actually going to be the last insensitive thing that I say to Punjab. So don't worry at all about that. This is actually a video to Steve Shives. Now, he's recently released a video about the PC culture and how basically the PC culture isn't really a thing, even though the patriarchy actually is. I don't know. His video was really too long for me to respond to in its entirety, and to be honest, a majority of it is just filler anyway. So we're going to take a look at two key points here. Let's begin.
It seems to me that most of the people who strain under the supposed burden of political correctness, the people who piss and moan about how our discourse is too politically correct these days, and you can't talk about anything, that most of the time the people making those complaints are people who tend to say really shitty things. In fact, even the terms politically correct and politically incorrect are used far more often by those who complain about the imposition of PC culture than by those who are supposedly doing the imposing.
Free speech is not free unless I'm free to offend people. Does this make me an asshole? Well, you're pretty naive to think that I even try to pretend I'm not. And I don't care if this is politically incorrect or not. I'm also not a racist. I'm not. But you have to understand that stereotypes are there for a reason, Steve, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. Full disclosure, I guess. The full extent of my conversations with brown people go no further than, I'd like another pack of Camels, please. Because I live in a decent area and I only ever even see a 7-Eleven when I travel.
Complaints about political correctness from certain quarters have never really gone away, but the number of such complaints has risen significantly in the last week or so since the terrorist attacks in Paris, because there are a lot of people who want to blame those attacks on Islam, just Islam in general, not ISIS, not Islamism, but Islam in general and Muslims in general, and to punish Muslims, just Muslims, as a general group for those attacks and attacks like them. And they don't want to hear about what's wrong with that. They don't want to be labeled bigots. They don't want to be labeled intolerant because they say things like that and because they advocate things like turning away refugees or shutting down mosques and applying this kind of blatant double standard to Islam and to Muslims that they would never, ever dream of applying to Christians.
Horse shit. All religious people absolutely deserve ridicule. Over the years, I've spent countless hours in front of a camera ridiculing Christians. I mean, honestly, it's not like they went and made a simple mistake and picked up the wrong soda at the supermarket or something. This is a fundamental view of the world that has no basis in reality. Imagine if Adolf Hitler came back to life and told you that the sky was blue. You'd be like, oh, well, it's not blue at night. But if some disabled African-American transgendered person tells you that the sky is green, all of a sudden the song is different. All of a sudden now it's, well, we have to be sensitive to their beliefs. You do not need to be sensitive to the beliefs of others especially when their beliefs are factually inaccurate. That person does not deserve kind words and support. That person deserves ridicule and scorn. Imagine a sect of Christianity that believes that Jesus died while slipping in the bathtub. All right? It's the Last Supper. Jesus goes up to clean off, slips, cracks his head. Everybody hears it. They go upstairs and they're like, Jesus Christ! You were supposed to finish the Bible. Now it's going to get weird. And now, today, instead of wearing a crucifix around their neck, it's a soap on a rope. And instead of the big cross on the altar, it's a shower head. And when they do their praises, it's, whoa, whoa. Other Christians would be like, those people are fucking crazy. And I know what you're thinking. Aldus, that's absurd. That's an extreme example. No, it is not. An extreme example would be somebody like Shanny for Christ, a Christian creationist who denies the existence of the moon and still gets to homeschool her children. Now, I understand that there are a lot of modern liberal Christians out there who acknowledge that most of the Bible is allegory and bullshit, but even they still believe that on the third day Christ had risen. And that's because the religious are blinded by their emotions and fail to look at the world objectively. Not entirely dissimilar to SJWs. Yes, all SJWs are exactly as blinded as the religious, whether it's bottom feeders like Captain Potato Head, who plead for the poor, innocent employees who, let's be honest, really ought to be looking for new employers anyway, all the way up to the so-called intellectuals, if they can so be called, like Dr. Christie Government, who argues for the existence of an institutionalized patriarchy in the style of a presuppositional creationist. And all of these people all believe that even one solitary terrorist within a religion is an acceptable margin of fringe radicalism. Well, we can't blame an entire group of people just because of one person that happens to share their bullshit worldview. I mean, we're all atheists, aren't we? We all acknowledge that it's bullshit. Why not call them out on their bullshit? That's how you fix the problem. And all of this is because they allow their emotions to cloud their objectivity. And this is because it's a lot easier to be comforted by a warm, safe little lie than it is to confront the cold, harsh, often politically incorrect reality of truth. Now, I understand that there's a good number of people on YouTube who don't care for the anti-theists, and I don't care. It nauseates me, it fucking sickens me to know that there are atheists out there that tolerate Christians teaching their children things that the atheist knows are lies. Especially when those children grow up to bomb abortion clinics. Now, I know that not all Christians are terrorists. Sounds a lot like not all men, doesn't it? But I also know that not all Muslims are terrorists. But the fact remains that there are enough Muslims that certain stereotypes begin to emerge. Now, for those of you that are recent subscribers to my channel, what you're about to see is a little bit of a rabbit hole. It's an absurdity to make a point, and it's something I'm very good at. Imagine, if you will, that someday we disprove religion, all of them. We prove that all religious texts that have ever been written were written for ignorant people who were desperate to understand the world around them by corrupt people who wanted to keep the ignorant people docile and compliant. Imagine that a totally natural cause to the beginning of the universe is discovered and proven. If we disprove all religion, I know that that's not going to stop terrorists. But what that is going to do is it's going to take away their shield of indignant righteousness that they hide behind. I might be considered a bigoted, intolerant, politically incorrect asshole, but my motivations are pure. My motivations are true. My motivations are honest. I don't lie to myself and others about what's motivating me. I might say some horrible, fucked up, offensive things, but do you know what all the religious terrorists say?
I'm not sorry. I did what I thought was right.
Quod erat demonstrandum. Be sure to be trying the beef jerky. It is made out of camel.